Shalom, welcome back to Sister Kate Shofar Mountain. You're not descended from monkeys. No. And I'm going to explain to you why you're not descended from monkeys. But first I'm going to address a question that people might be asking. Sister Kate, why are you not discussing this from the biblical point of view? And my answer to that is because people who believe the Bible don't have a problem with this issue. It's kind of like when Yeshua says, I don't come here to help the people who are well, which meant understand that he's Messiah. He came for those who are ill, those who don't understand Yeshua's coming, and so he's there to help them understand. It's the same reason. So you're not descended from monkeys, and why? If you don't believe in faith, well then, because of science. So, why am I saying that? What am I basing my idea, my reasoning, that you are not descended from monkeys? Because I've done studies now, I'm going on Wikipedia, I'm going to all the websites about Neanderthals, about Lucy, supposedly the first woman, and the interim skeletons that archaeologists and anthropologists have found and are drawing the conclusions that we are descended from these little teeny monkeys. And the first indicator to you that this is not a true, the theory is not true, is because theory in scientific circles has to be proven. Theory does not become law, scientific law, until it's proven. So, you have this theory that Lucy is the mother of all living, and she's coming out of Africa. Got it? They use carbon dating, they use radioactive material in the soil, and they use, plant pollen that they find, although where Lucy and some of those skeletons come from, it's just basically a desert, and there are bones there. So you need to look up Mount St. Helens, and you need to look up what that volcanic explosion did, because it laid down a bunch of volcanic ash and rock, and the strata that it laid down looks exactly like the rocks that other archaeologists look at and say, this is millions of years old. If there was volcanic activity, then whatever was laid down there could have been, 200 years old, or a couple of thousand years old. The thing about guessing about time and origins of scientific, bits of bone and pottery is you have no witness from that time frame to prove exactly when it happened. So again, you are theorizing. If you look behind me, there's these trees and they're dead. I have no idea how old that tree is. Now, they've figured out if you count the rings, you can approximate the number of years, but by the appearance of them, they could be anywhere from, last year's wood, which a lot of them are, to 100 years old. I have no way of knowing these things. Those scientists do not have a context in which these bones happen. They don't know anything about the time frame that these bones are there. They guess it's 300,000 years or 3 million years, but they really don't know. And so then they take Lucy and they've got like 5 of her bones, or even if they have half of her skeleton, they compare them to modern humans, and then they say, oh, well, she had to be a human because her hips are formed just like ours, and most other animals who walk on all fours, hips are shaped differently. That's not a totally uncommon way of thinking about it, but they don't even say, well, maybe she was a monkey who walked upright. Just because we don't see monkeys walking upright all the time doesn't mean there wasn't one. So not only do they get the dating wrong, they draw conclusions from the skeletons, and they only have half of a skeleton. You need more than one skeleton. You need skeletons like hers, full skeletons, and you need skeletons from whatever was alive around her. so you can compare them. You don't compare them with the ones that are around now because it's not the same thing. But I'll take it a little further for you. So they have multiple skeletons, and like I said, they think like she's the oldest, and then there's one that's a little bigger than her, and it's supposed to be a little bit younger, 3 million, this one's only 2 million years old, and then there's supposedly another one around 1 million years old, and there's, like 2.5 skeletons. And so they take the measure of the brain cavities, and they say, in general, brain cavity means if you have a big brain, you're smarter, and if you have a small brain, you're dumber, which in the animal world doesn't always, because I think whales don't have great big brains and whatever. So they say the brains get bigger, like I said, as we get more towards us. And, we're super, super smart, and so we have the biggest human brain. And that's how evolution works, and that's how these theories work. It's wrong. And they know it's wrong because Neanderthal, who is supposedly one step removed from us and, around 50,000 years ago to 100,000 years ago, was shorter, stronger, and had a bigger head. They had a much larger brain, like a third the bigger size brain than we do, than Homo sapien does. And for the longest time, scientists said, they had to be very stupid and they had to be monkey-like because they, we're the epitome, we're the smartest thing around. No, when you use their stone tools and look at the stone chippings and everything, the way they chipped stone and made arrowheads and stuff was smarter than the way the Homo sapiens did it. So your theory of evolution of Lucy being, tiny and then coming down to Homo sapien that's the biggest, Neanderthal is an exception. So your theory right there is blown out of the water. When there's an exception, some people say the exception proves the rule. The rule that what? The brains kept getting bigger because Neanderthals is bigger and then Homo sapiens is smaller. So it doesn't follow any logic. And it's people who are scientists who study rocks and trees and societies and things coming up with theories about life that they don't have that much experience with. I'll give you another example. I watched the video, several, on Neanderthal. And there are very smart people, scientists in Britain, who find that the skeleton has a much larger right arm than a left arm. And so they theorize that these guys, hey, how you doing? It's coming to visit. They theorize that because Neanderthal had a bigger, stronger skeleton, he would need more protein, and so he had to hunt more. And so they say he must have speared deer from up close with a very thick shafted spear versus doing what, say, the natives did where they shot bows and arrows at them. Well, they obviously don't hunt deer because deer don't stand there. You cannot, walk up to a deer with a big spear and just stab it. And you can't do it with 5 or 6 of you either. The deer is fast and it's capable. It can leap right over your head. So it's a bad theory. And they overlook a very, very commonsensical reason for Neanderthal, a right-handed Neanderthal having the larger bones and all the stone chipping. They say, we found thousands and thousands of stone chips at this one site by a creek. And, you have any idea how much muscle it takes to sit there and chip that stone several hours a day, several days, several years in a row out of your life? Or you have to stir some pot that's got your stuff in it. And, it doesn't have to be trying to spear a deer in a very impractical, nonsensical way. So I don't trust any of that. I don't. If you look up Ken Ham, his talk about the Bible and the science behind the Bible makes so much more sense than these theories that these scientists who sit in an office or go to a dig and spend hours, finding little fragments. Even if they find an entire pot, even if they find a whole culture that's at, a certain level, the way they date it and the way they say, well, it could have interacted with the other cultures around it, and then this is the reason something terrible happened in their whole area. Someone else comes along and finds some other little tooth, and then they have to change it because that doesn't fit into the model they drew. They don't know. They're all guessing. And so when they say you're descended from a monkey because certain chimpanzees have, 98% DNA similar to a human, and they have certain behaviors that they do that, they use a tool and so do we, that doesn't prove their theory. Chickens also have like a 97% DNA the same as us, and we're nothing like a chicken. It's because this is a closed system and everything in it is made from the same carbon and protein and so on. It's not because the little piece of slime that was in the pond grew up to be us. No one has proven evolution. Not a single person has proven evolution. Evolution is a pond has slime in it, and 100 years from now, the slime is something else when it comes out. And they make the timeline millions of years because they think, oh, it'll happen over millions of years. But that's not the way they talk about it, and it's never been proven. Scientific theory also is something you can recreate in a lab. That makes it proven. No one's taken slime and made a better slime. It just hasn't happened. Slime produces slime, goats have baby goats, horses have baby horses, dogs have baby dogs, humans have baby humans, and when there's a fault in a human, it's very, very, very often a problem, not a blessing. Even I watched a video on people who have the super memory, who can remember every day of their lives and everything about every day of their lives. Most of them are socially interacting with other humans like autistic, and they're severely disabled in one part of their personality, why they have this super memory in another. Now, there are some people who have the super memory and are also able to interact with other people. That's like 3% of the population. That's not proving evolution. It's just proving that those particular people have an anomaly in their brain where their memory is, and so they're very able to remember things. But they haven't proven that that even gets passed on in their genes. I think anomaly means an exception. I have, a million oranges, and one orange tends to be a little bit yellower than another. That's an anomaly. It's not a proven theory that you can recreate over and over and over again. So you're not descended from a monkey. In my view, God created you. And men, you are made in his image. And women, you are made to be a perfect helper for your man. And that's how this world makes sense, at least to me. And you can live that life of peace and quiet when you follow the Lord. Because the world, the way it is, that makes up these theories and says you're a monkey, crazy, crazy. All right. Hope this made sense to y'all. Bless you. Thank you for watching. Shalom.